Hello everyone and welcome back to the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel, and in today's video it's going to be a preview and preferred 11 of Norwich City's game with Preston North End at Deepdale on Tuesday night in the Sky Bet Championship underneath the Sky Sports cameras and the floodlights as well of the Northwest. That's how I'm sure a lot of Norwich fans will be tuning into the game, myself included. But anyhow, let's sort of get straight into it. We won't dilly-dally really too much, but just to start off with about the game, it could be a very tough one for Norwich. Preston now under the management of Paul Heckingbottom after they started the season with Ryan Lowe, and after one game he was sacked. So clearly the Preston, well, or rather he stepped down rather than being sacked. So Preston very much had one of the worst starts imaginable from that perspective. But under Heckingbottom, they're starting to find their feet, and they've become a bit of a tough nut to crack at Deepdale, having won 3 of their 5 home games there so far this season. They have lost at Deepdale this season as well, but they're off the back of a very impressive 1-0 victory over Coventry City, who Norwich even beat 1-0, and Coventry themselves, of course, tipped as a bit of an outsider for the top 2 this season, and definitely many considered them a strong playoff outfit. But the Sky Blues now sit 21st in the league. But anyhow, that's not what we're on about. We're on about the Lily Whites of Preston and the Canaries of Norwich City. But going sort of more into my preferred 11, we'll begin with the goalkeeper and back 4. And in goal, I expect it to remain as George Long. It was revealed by Johannes Hoftorp in his press conference today that Angus Gunn is not going to play against Preston, and he will not play against Middlesbrough on Sunday afternoon as well. It seems as if he won't be back out training with the first team, or at least out on the grass, until Sunday, and that is a massive blow for Norwich to lose their best goalkeeper and who is such a key figure in their side. But George Long will remain in goal. The back 4 I expect again unchanged. It's Norwich City's best defensive lineup right now, so that will be Callum Doyle at left back, Jose Cordoba at centre half, or maybe even they'll swap rather. So as you may see on the graphic next to me, I may have Cordoba at left back for the time being, but I expect rather Doyle will probably end up as the left back rather, and then you'll have Duffy and Fisher as the right-sided defenders. Those 4 have served Torup very well over the last few games, and they've proved that they can be a very strong, cohesive unit, and they're all individually brilliant so far this season. Duffy being the oldest of that back 4, but adding that experience and know-how, and he's been a lot better than many Norwich fans would have expected of this season so far. But that could be credit to Torup and his belief in his own players and using what he's got and improving the team, which is what every Norwich fan wants to see in every game. Clear improvement and progression, which is what we're seeing. But this game could be really where that progression is massively tested. It's a long journey to make on a Tuesday night for anyone, maybe even a player. That could be a big mental barrier for a player to think about. But with Preston's very fine home form and picking up, I want to say it's 12 points from the first 9 or 8 games that Heckingbottom has had as Preston manager. They are in a decent run of form under their new manager, who is experienced in this division. He's had promotion with Sheffield United, and albeit maybe in the Premiership he wasn't doing all too well with the Blade, he is a very good manager at this level. And Preston, a side who were right up there for majority of the season last term in terms of the playoffs, if anything really, when Norwich beat them at Deepdale back in April, in one of the, or a little bit earlier on, just right near the end of the season. That was the last game Norwich won of the entire season, for the rest of it rather. They really had to dig deep, scored in the last few minutes thanks to a brilliant bit of individual work from Gabriel Sara. And maybe that's what Norwich, they might need really cut on Tuesday night. They have got a lot better quality, it can be argued, than what Preston have, but it's going to be hard, especially against a Heckingbottom team who are known for being a strong physical side that are good in defence and can punish you in attack. But it will be a very interesting one, that's for sure. But anyway, moving back onto my preferred 11, we'll move up to the midfield three, again where there's going to have to be a change due to injury. Marcelino Nunez isn't going to play Tuesday night. He's not going to play on Sunday afternoon either, which is a massive blow. And I think, just before I talk about that, my midfield three, Kenny McLean in defensive midfield being the quarterback role, as we discussed on the podcast on the weekend. And then I would go with Oscar Sfartau in Nunez's place to maybe be that creative spark and add a bit more attacking quality to Norwich's midfield. And then I would also keep Anis Ben Slimane, who really does look a great bit of business by Norwich. He looks to steal the loan signing, and maybe it could become permanent for £1.4 million. But against even his old manager in Heckingbottom, who he started off with and couldn't get many games with in the Premier League. But I think his physicality and Kenny McLean's constant press off the ball and his willingness to just win battles in midfield will be key in this game. Preston, as I've already alluded to, are a big physical side. They are known really for being a nasty team to come up against, especially away from home. It's a difficult journey to make, and it's to use a cliche, a tough place to go. And Norwich, as I already covered, it was difficult for them there last season. They had to really dig deep to get all 3 points in a game where they were expected to, but their opposition don't make it easy for them. And even when Preston, the season before last, hadn't conceded a goal in, I want to say it was 5 or 6 games, Norwich did score against them, but then they also became the first team to concede 2 or more goals to them in that season. So again, really proving that Preston can dig deep and be very strong defensively, but in attack, when they need to be, they can take chances and be ruthless, and they will want to win this game for their sake of trying to keep climbing up the table after a bit of a shaky start and losing their manager after one game. Norwich are in very good form. Their away form maybe still is a bit shaky, but they're playing fine football, and they are progressing as a team, and got a point away at Stoke against that Narcis Pelach side. This game could be very similar to that, really, in a case of it's a notoriously difficult venue to play at in this league, and you're going to have to dig deep. You've got to really gun for it and be patient and try and just break down a low defensive block and just gun for it. But you've got to be careful not to make mistakes, because although Preston don't possess the same amount of quality as Norwich do, they are going to be tactically smart in order to nullify those threats and get themselves 3 points. And moving on to the front three, where Norwich have got a lot of threat. Borja Sainz, I'd start at left wing. You have to. Norwich's top scorer this season. He's matched his goals and assists tally of last season already. I would keep Ansei Sienats at right wing. That sounds a little bit unlike me, but as I said after the podcast, yes, I have not really been the biggest fan of Sienats because of his price tag, and maybe the performances haven't been there. He scored his first goal at the weekend. You can't drop a player who scored your only goal in the prior game, and clearly he will be, I hope for his sake, he's full of confidence, and he will just go into this game as a sort of a man reborn maybe, and just proper gun for it and look to build on a promising performance for him. And then of course Josh Sargent through the middle, Norwich's best out and out striker. You have to play him, although he's not really been scoring many goals as of late, and maybe he's due a goal. Of course did score against Hull City, but didn't score against Stoke. Got an assist, although the ball was smacked right into his face. Still, he possesses a big threat, and he is statistically, in a lot of different elements, he is arguably the best striker in the division. So you have to play him rather than maybe rotate your side. I think this could be one where we see a bit more rotation from Torup due to the fact that there is 3 games within a 6-day period. That is very, very difficult. Or an 8-day period, rather. Sorry about that. That is, again, very difficult. You have to look at your squad and the depth and think, right, well, I can't keep risking my big players, especially as we now have injuries to a few of them. do I chance it and properly go for it, or maybe do I try and go with an 11 I think can match what the opposition manager may go for and try and throw them off a little bit, use players who maybe haven't played as much, put them into the starting 11 and create a bit of a different challenge for an opposition manager to have to think about and make it hard in that sense, where you're trying to just outsmart someone, or you roll the dice and you throw a bit of a curveball. But it's, again, it could be proven to be difficult, and Norwich may, I would expect, to go with their strongest side, because the only changes they're really having to make right now are enforced due to injuries, and we've already seen George Long start over Angus Gunn because of injury. Marcelino Nunez will have to be dropped because he can't play the next 2 games, as I've already said. But it will be interesting, really. What the big thing is, in terms of the starting 11 from Torup, who will he go for in that Nunez role? Who will be the player he believes he can put in there and that can provide the same abilities that Nunez has? Who can be the player to link defence to attack and provide a threat for Norwich from midfield and look to link up the passes with the front 3? Who will he go with that can slot in there? Will he go with his best 11, or will he feel as if, what I've sort of already alluded to, will he change it up and think that that can maybe give him the edge in this game? It certainly is going to be interesting from a tactical perspective, and it will be tough for Norwich. Yes, as I have said many a time so far in this video, they have got better quality. They are a better side on paper than what Preston North End are. But are they maybe as physical? Are they maybe as a team who really can cause issues for opposition just by sitting deep and being frustrating? No, they aren't. That's where Preston will have an advantage, you feel. They are a bigger, more physical side. They are a more defensively sound, you could argue, as a deep-lying team, with a deep back 4 that Norwich may have to resort to long balls over the top and not be able to play their intricate passing, as maybe Preston may just go in that bit harder and use their press off the ball to frustrate Norwich, sit deep, and just make it so they can't play through the lines. It will certainly be very interesting in that regard. As for a score prediction, I don't usually like giving them because I usually make an absolute muppet of myself. I mean, if you saw the ones we did over social media at the weekend, I thought we beat Stoke 4-1, so that didn't age very well. But I'll be a bit more sensible this time around. I think with Preston's improving form under Heckingbottom and the fact at which they are a tough nut to crack at Deepdale, and they're known to be a bit of a hard team to play against away from home, as I've said many a time, I think Norwich, they've got enough in them to get a good result, and I think that we'll see a bit of a repeat of what we saw at the Britannia. I think this will end as a 1-1 draw, due to the fact that, albeit Norwich have got enough to get them over the line, just from a tactical point of view, they may struggle to match what Heckingbottom looks to go with in his side, and how he will most likely just want to stop this Norwich team from playing through them and just carving them apart by playing really intricate, patient, passing football that's really slick and neat. And they may just have to make them resort to long balls and playing Preston in the way at which Heckingbottom wants them to. But who knows what will happen? That's just my take on it and who I think should start. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like rating on it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And you can watch all of our content here on the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel. I've been Freddie Humphrey Wakefield. It's goodbye for now, and we'll see you in the next video of ours here on the channel.